They told us value had to be earned the hard way. Draft day smiles, scout praise, and years of silence. They told us black quarterbacks had to wait their turn. They told us that the right way to succeed was to bow, to blend in, to be grateful for a shot in a system that was never designed for us to lead in the first place. But Shedeur Sanders just shattered that entire illusion, and he did it without playing a single down. Let's make this plain. This wasn't supposed to happen. A fifth-round pick just generated $250 million in jersey sales. Let that sink in. Not a Heisman winner, not a Super Bowl champ, not even a top 10 draft pick. A young man they said wasn't ready. A coach's son they swore was riding on his father's coattails. A quarterback whose draft stock slipped not because of lack of talent, but because he refused to perform humility for the cameras. And now he has already pocketed $15 million clean before training camp even opened. That's more than some starting quarterbacks are taking home for the entire season. That's more than some veterans who spent years proving themselves will ever see in guaranteed salary. And the people who spent months questioning his draft position, his intelligence, his leadership, are scrambling to rewrite the narrative before it burns them. Because what Shedeur just did wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this, not this loud, and certainly not this unapologetically black. This isn't just football, this is a cultural shift. This is liberation in cleats. This is what happens when black excellence refuses to wait for validation. Shedeur didn't wait for the NFL to knight him. He walked in already wearing a crown. And the fact that it makes people uncomfortable, that's the point. Let's call it what it is, theft in plain sight. They tried to rob Shedeur Sanders of his value on draft day, pushed him down the board, labeled him a project, talked about him like he hadn't already proven himself against Power 5 defenses, like he hadn't already carried a team on his back, like he didn't already have the poise, precision, and leadership they claim to want from quarterbacks. The truth is, the second he showed up polished, branded, and unapologetically himself, he stopped being just a prospect. He became a threat to their formula, a threat to their comfort, a threat to their control. And despite the whispers, despite the slander, despite being overlooked, Shedeur flipped the script with one number, 250 million. That's how much his jersey sales generated before the preseason even started. And his personal commission? 15 million. That's not hype, that's economics. That's leverage. That's proof of value that no draft analyst can deny. And here's the thing. It didn't come from some corporate marketing rollout. It didn't come from a staged PR push. It came from the people. It came from fans who see in Shedeur not just a quarterback, but a reflection of themselves. This isn't about the Cleveland Browns. Fans aren't pledging loyalty to a helmet or a logo. They're rocking number 12 because of what it represents: confidence, culture, control. This generation is tired of waiting for representation to trickle down. Shedeur didn't ask for a seat at the table. He built his own table, plated it in gold, and now the whole league is knocking for reservations. And don't get it twisted. This isn't the system embracing him. This is the people forcing the system to acknowledge him. Because the real value of a player has never been confined to a draft slot or a 40-yard dash. Shedeur Sanders just proved that on a scale too big to be ignored. They laughed when the Browns dropped his jersey before training camp. Laughed loud, called it a gimmick, said he hadn't earned it, said he hadn't thrown an NFL pass. But while the old guard was scoffing, the people were clicking. And they didn't just click, they crashed the site. They ran the numbers up like it was a Jordan drop, not a rookie quarterback unveiling. Within hours, his jersey shot to number 1. By day 3, it outsold the top-selling rookie jerseys of the last 3 years combined. That's not hype, that's hunger. Hunger that's been simmering. Hunger for representation, for authenticity, for someone who looks like us, talks like us, moves like us, and refuses to shrink. The demand was never about the team, it was about the man. Fans weren't waiting for media permission, they were waiting for the link. And when it went live, it wasn't just sales, it was a stampede. A digital protest against everything Shedeur wasn't supposed to be. You don't outsell entire franchises because of nepotism. You don't outsell legends because of marketing tricks. You do that because people see you, they feel you, they want to be part of what you represent. This didn't start with Cleveland. This loyalty was built brick by brick. From Jackson State to Colorado to the NFL. Shedeur didn't ride his father's name. This isn't the first time the NFL has seen this tension. Black quarterbacks who moved differently, Kaepernick, Cam, Lamar, were all scrutinized not just for their game, but for their leadership, their tone, their style. The rules were always written against them. But Shedeur didn't just step into that mold. He refused to even acknowledge it existed. He knew from the start that if he didn't control his story, someone else would. And so he took the pen, the microphone, the camera, and said, "I'll handle it." The genius was in the delivery. He didn't come in screaming, didn't come in confrontational. He came polished, poised, strategic. No gimmicks, no forced humility. Just presence, just clarity, just confidence that didn't need permission. What the NFL doesn't understand is that Shedeur's audience was built long before the draft. He didn't need ESPN specials. He didn't need analysts to validate him. His platform was already massive, his connection already sealed. And that's what terrifies them. Because when the media loses control of the narrative, power shifts. And in Shedeur's case, the shift is seismic. Don't let the silence fool you. Behind closed doors, the NFL is in chaos. This wasn't supposed to happen. A fifth-round pick wasn't supposed to dominate headlines, wasn't supposed to outsell first-rounders, wasn't supposed to enter training camp with a global fan base, media presence, and brand power like a superstar. But Shedeur Sanders did. And the league doesn't have a playbook for that. Cleveland's PR team had to pivot. Months ahead of schedule, they were flooded with requests, interviews, collaborations, sponsorships. They had to reroute marketing budgets, expand merchandise systems, and adjust digital staff to keep up with the demand created by a fifth-round rookie. This isn't normal. This is unprecedented. And it's not just Cleveland. Front offices across the NFL are panicking, trying to study the phenomenon. They're scanning rosters looking for the next Shedeur. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't coach what Shedeur has. You can't fake authenticity. You can't manufacture resonance. This isn't built in a boardroom. It's built in community, in identity, in connection. And that's why the old heads don't know how to respond. They still cling to the formula. Draft stats equal value. Rookies earn respect by being quiet, following orders, and avoiding waves. But Shedeur flipped that formula on its head. He showed that influence starts before the stat sheet fills up. And that scares the league. Because influence means power, and power means leverage. For decades, the NFL has kept control by telling rookies they're replaceable, by reminding them the logo is bigger than the man. But now, the player-first era has arrived, and Shedeur is the prototype. Just look at the NBA, LeBron, Steph, Giannis. They became global icons because the NBA embraced individual branding. Fans followed players more than teams. The NFL has resisted that shift, hiding behind helmets. But Shedeur isn't asking for permission. He's showing the way. And let's be honest, if Shedeur had been a top 10 pick, they'd be celebrating this. ESPN would run features. Execs would call it a revolution. But because he came through the side door, because he refused to play the humility game, because he dared to be excellent and confident and black, they panicked. They didn't know how to contain it. They couldn't spin it. They couldn't ignore it. So instead, they tried to minimize it. But you can't minimize $250 million in jersey sales. You can't minimize an army of fans stretching coast to coast. You can't minimize the energy of a movement that's bigger than the league. What do you do when a fifth rounder breaks your system? When he doesn't just outperform expectations, but burns the rulebook entirely? You either adapt or you get left behind. And right now, the next generation of players is watching. NIL cracked the door open. Shedeur kicked it off the hinges. High school kids are already mimicking his media strategy. College quarterbacks are polishing their image, studying how Shedeur monetized without compromise. He didn't wait for a brand deal. He was the brand deal. And now agents are scrambling to keep up with teenagers asking, how do I build what Shedeur built? This is changing the pre-draft process completely. It's no longer just about combined drills or tape. Now it's about polish, presence, poise. It's about whether a rookie can walk into the league already carrying a loyal audience. That used to be frowned upon. Now, it's a business model. Because if you can bring millions of followers and millions in merchandise, you're not just a draft pick, you're a revenue stream. And here's what makes Shedeur's blueprint disruptive. It's built on control. He didn't hand his image to corporations. He told his own story in his own voice from day one. And the people showed up. That terrifies the league. They want rookies to be blank SL,